So today on Sonny Talk Spurs, I'm joined yet again by another fantastic guest, and it's Hollie's Hotspur. How are you doing today, Hollie?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on again. I'm looking forward to talk all things Tottenham with you.
Yes, and it's an interesting topic today, and I needed a passionate Spurs fan really to talk about it. And I'll be honest, when this has gone live, the title will be decided. But at the moment, the main question is, have Tottenham come full circle? Because everyone I seem to talk to who has any association with the club seems to be comparing and with Poch and certain players with players from that Pochettino team, because that was our last great team. So I guess to start, we'll have to talk about the managers. And I did a video recently about Pochettino and how I think we did the right thing not going for him. So Hollie, what's your opinions on really, comparing Postecoglou's start to Pochettino's reign as Tottenham manager?
I think it's the vibes. I think under Poch we played good football, and under Ange we're playing good football. I think the comparison kind of stops when you get to the point of, but Poch didn't win anything. Is Ange going to win something? That might be the difference kind of conversation. But right now, I think things are heading in the right direction. Things under Poch were heading in the right direction. It was just whether things at the end didn't kind of come to the same kind of meeting point with the board and him. I'm hoping that Ange hasn't got the same kind of fate, so to speak. But yeah, I think, like you say, I think there is a comparison to be made. I just think it's a little bit too early on, maybe.
And would you say as well, like Daniel Levy in particular, could learn a lot from what happened with Pochettino? Like actually back this manager who's got a lot of promise and is playing the attacking football that fans want. Do you think he actually will learn and back Postecoglou in transfer windows to come?
I mean, I'd like to say yes, but we've been here far too many times and we've seen the same kind of fate happen. Obviously, we've seen it. There's arguments to say that Conte was backed. There's arguments to say Jose was backed. But argumentally, he was playing players like, say, Bissouma. He didn't play Bissouma, but he'd said he didn't fit his system. Whereas now we've got Bissouma in a system that works with Ange, which is the Tottenham way. You can kind of see that you'd like to think, okay, this is the Tottenham way now. So Levy and the board, you need to actually put your money where your mouth is and give this guy the players he wants. So in that kind of respect, I hope that he will, because we're heading in that Tottenham way direction, as I like to call it. Whereas beforehand, we've kind of had style of managers that I don't think we're going to be here for the long run. I think they were just going to come in, hopefully win a trophy and then leave. Whereas with Ange, we're building on something. So yeah, I'd like to think that the board have learnt their lesson.
And would you say as well, I feel like something clear from Ange that I've noticed is he has made a lot of big decisions early on, getting rid of Lloris. I say dropping him, I'd say, because he's still at the club, not using Eric Dyer, being bold with his selections and chucking new players who, 5 players in a back line, including the goalkeeper, who never played in a North London derby, and they played how they did. Like, do you actually think he's doing stuff like that, which is maybe, a bit different to Pochettino? I'm not sure, because I feel like big decisions for Pochettino. I'm thinking the Champions League final, he played Harry Kane and not Lucas Moura. Do you think maybe Ange is showing like he is ready to maybe take more risks, and that's where he maybe differs from a Pochettino?
I think so. I think when Pochettino made the jump from Southampton to Tottenham, some people might argue that's the same for Ange coming from obviously Celtic to Tottenham. But Celtic was a big club, and no disrespect to Southampton. I obviously hate Southampton, living around near the area, but Celtic is a big club. So he kind of knows what it's like to manage at a big club. I wouldn't necessarily Poch knew that when he came to Tottenham, and that might make me sound really harsh, but I think that is kind of just the nature of it. He's been there before with a big club. He's been there with the fans on his back, etc., and he's managed to thrive off it. So I would like to think that Ange knows what he's doing. And like you said, we've seen that. Imagine throwing Johnson into his first debut game in a North London derby. I think he said something pre-match in the sense of, it's a great initiation, basically. And I think that's great. He's not worried about, I wouldn't say he shoved him under the bus, but it's more like, I've given you a platform, go and show your worth. And I kind of like that from Ange.
And now moving on to some of the players, because I've seen a lot of people compare certain players in certain positions. I'm thinking Micky van der Ven, Jan Vertonghen. I'm thinking Bissouma and Dembele. A few people said Brennan Johnson has that sort of Dele Alli-like flair and, no cares attitude to the way he plays football. Is there any comparisons you draw between the team? Because I can think of I'll start with one massive difference, and it's the goalkeeper. I've just done as well a video with the Irish Hotspur talking about Vicario. So I went and did a big deep dive. So go check that out if you haven't seen that already. But like how different Vicario and Lloris are. I feel like, even down to not just the shot stopping and stuff like that, but obviously playing out with his feet. In the North London derby, he looked fantastic. And also, I feel like, weirdly, and this might be a bit controversial, I feel like Vicario is showing more leadership than maybe Lloris did while he was captain. I feel like, he's putting an arm around players when need be. I'm looking at Romero and Destiny Udogie during the game. I think Destiny Udogie nearly gave away a goal in the first few minutes, and, Vicario's putting his thumb up, and Romero, obviously, with the deflection, puts his arm around. So I feel like there are differences in that sort of thing. So coming from the player's point of view, is there major differences? Is there major, comparisons you could draw, or do you think it's a whole new, fresh look?
I kind of see what people are saying in the sense of obviously Dembele and Bissouma. I mean, it has been so long since we've had a player like Dembele. When you see a player in midfield that's doing similarities, you're obviously going to draw on that straight away. I mean, I like the point you said about Vicario and the fact that he's potentially a better leader than Lloris. I think it's just as well the fact that the whole team is a unit. It's almost like they're not individuals in this team. They're all there for one main cause. And I think for a long time, we've had players that aren't gelling under this system, especially under Conte, especially under Mourinho, but they're actually enjoying their football again. So I think that has a lot to play into it as well. But yeah, I think obviously Micky van de Ven at the back. I mean, when you think about Romero and him, you automatically think of Big Jan and Alderweireld. Like, it's a go-to. And I think that's why we are making comparisons, because we're enjoying watching football again with Tottenham. And that was the days when we enjoyed it, when we had those players. So I can definitely get the comparisons.
It's the long legs as well from Micky van de Ven. And it's the Ajax links as well. It's just, do you know what it is? It's lazy. It's really lazy to get, because I've seen people go like, oh, Maddison and Eriksen. But I just think Maddison is such a different player to Eriksen. Like, I feel like his dribbling's better. I feel like he will probably get more goal contributions than Eriksen. And I mean, maybe I'm thinking of Eriksen later, in his United career in Brentford, where he is playing deeper. But then, Maddison's playing deeper as well. So I do find that quite interesting to compare the two. But there is one mainstay in this team to compare from the two. And obviously that's Son up top. And am I taking plaudits here? I don't know. But I thought he would bounce back this season. I just thought under an attacking manager and with the lack of Harry Kane, he would step up. And I think the captain's armband has also given him the world of good. And, I feel like he is developing his play as well. Obviously when we signed him, he was this young, pacey winger, but he is now playing as a proper striker. So I just want to get your thoughts on Son, because obviously he's my namesake as well. I love him to bits. So, I mean, in the derby, he got 2, in Burnley, he got 3. What have you made of him so far this season, stepping up to the plate?
I think he's done a really good job. Lots of people gave him criticism, obviously, from last year. Obviously, he had, I can't remember what it was. Was it a hernia or something that was going on? So obviously that was playing on his mind. And for me, it's the fact that he knows that he doesn't necessarily have that pace anymore, and he's had to adapt his game. And I think playing him through the middle just adds to that. I think out wide, he's too predictable. Whereas when you slot him through the middle, he knows where the goal is. And we saw that. Maddison passed the ball to him. The
finishing was stupid as well. Those side shot, he's just, on both feet, you just trust him in the modern football.
And that's the thing, because when he's in that position, when he hasn't got time to think about it, he slots it into the back of the net. I feel like when he's out wide, he just seems to do too much with it. And I think having him in that centre focal point is definitely a good job. And like you say, he's stepping up with that captaincy, as well as Romero. I think they both have really lapped it up in a sense. I think Romero's a little bit more calmer, whereas before he always thought he was going to clatter someone. So yeah, I think the captaincy's done a world of good as well. Honestly, I think it's just because we are all feeding off the same energy, that they all want to be at this club. They all want to be on that football pitch, and they're all proving that worth, if that makes sense.
And I guess I'm trying to think now of like stuff that we lacked under Pochettino. Maybe a bit of that bottle we still lacked, and some of that, the feeling like we saw it. We went to Arsenal and we got a much deserved point. It could have been all 3. Is it just that? Is it a different vibe, would you say? I don't know how to really articulate this, but it feels like there's a different energy because of maybe Ange is a bit more of a wiser head. Pochettino was still quite young. We act like Ange is this, newcomer to a big league, but he has been around the block a bit. He's managed the Australian national team. We've seen some of his speeches, a lot of passion. So do you think that, Ange will actually, I'm not saying go a step further with this Tottenham team, but he maybe has the minerals to get even, more out of them, especially, these tricky fixtures we're coming up against the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, United. He seems to be able to get the most where people did write him off.
I think so. I think he's got a point to prove coming into the Premier League, obviously, when he's only been to the Scottish League with Celtic and here, there, else, everywhere else. So I think he has got a big point to prove. But I think you're right in a sense that it's like what I was saying about Poch. Poch came from a team like Southampton to Tottenham. I wouldn't say it was a big jump, but it was in terms of this is a massive fan base. This has got a lot of history compared to Southampton, whereas Celtic was the same. Celtic have a lot of history. They've got a lot of pressure on their shoulders. And I think the two have just combined themselves. In terms of, obviously, the Poch era, I think things just got a little bit too stale. And I think right now, as we're speaking, it's very fresh and very new. And they're all feeding into the same energy. And I hate to be like the burden of bad news. I just hope that it continues, if that makes sense, because I don't want it to go stale. And that's like when we said about hopefully the board backing the manager. That's what you hope is going to happen, because we've seen that the big managers do it before. You need to bring in more players to freshen the squad up to keep that hunger and drive. So it will be interesting. But yeah, I think Ange definitely has the minerals to hopefully, if not deliver something this season, deliver something next season.
That's why I think we're all positive, though, because it seems like it's gone from the club to the top to the bottom. Like we're seeing with the youth teams as well. Like they're undefeated so far, good results. And we are with our signings. The age of the squad has decreased. We've signed some really young players. I feel like I look at this Tottenham team now, and it's not the Tottenham team that I saw under Conte and Mourinho. It is like fresh faces, all with a point to prove. And, we're signing 16-year-olds from the Croatian league who we don't know how they're going to be, but it's something to get a bit excited about because it's something different. It's fresh. It's this stat signings as well, which I think really helped. And, signing a talisman, James Maddison, really helped with that. But I feel like we've answered the question a little bit there. I feel like, we've maybe quashed some stuff, some rumours and, highlighted some key factors as well. But I want to say a massive thank you, Hollie, for jumping on again. We're doing these collabs quite a lot lately, but I feel like we just, have good chats when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. The passion seems to flow. I feel like when the negative stuff comes, we're going to be wrecks, aren't we? But anyway, thanks again for jumping on. Is there anything you want to plug on your channel or something along those lines?
Just that you can find me on Hollie's Hotspurs live every Monday, and I'm trying to do a member show every Wednesday. I'm very unorganised, but hopefully trying to keep that up. But it's been a great, again, Sonny, talking to you. And like I say, I love being on the other end and not being the host. So thank you.
Oh, well, fantastic. And as I say, go over to Hollie's channel, subscribe to Sonny Talk Spurs if you haven't already. Leave a like, comments, react to everything we said, and we'll see you again pretty soon. Bye-bye.